SVG cannot be denied on the streets of Chicago. Meanwhile, the rest of the field battle it out at what could be the final race on that circuit, where caution calls were a little funky and where a battle for $1 million between two drivers became the fight of the day. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, it's Taylor Kitchen and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line on the ATYL Media channel. Happy 4th of July weekend. Hopefully everyone had some hamburgers, hot dogs, saw some fireworks, whatever it is you do to celebrate 4th of July. Hopefully it was a good one for you and your families. But let's dive right into the race, because to think that a few weeks ago, Shane Van Gisbergen was outside the top 30 in points. No shot of being in the playoffs. We knew he would probably win a road course here or there, so we were just kind of waiting. But to think that was the case for him and his team. Now he's won twice this season, this win coming at Chicago, locked into the playoffs, and could be a serious contender. We're going to Sonoma next week. That's a for sure spot for him to potentially get a win too. So it's been wild to see the trajectory of Shane Van Gisbergen and his season so far. But he swept the entire weekend, not just winning the Grant Park 165, but he also swept the pole positions and won the Xfinity Series event. So wins, pole positions, he did everything this weekend and he did it right. So congrats to SVG. You think about where Shane started the season versus where he is now. I know we have recency bias with his road course wins, but he has steadily improved at the oval circuits. And I start to think about this and I think about his contract situation. This is where my mind goes, because we know that he is with Trackhouse through the 2025 season and it was a one-year contract. We don't know what his future looks like with this team after this season, but we do know that his teammate Daniel Suarez announced that he and Trackhouse Racing mutually agreed to part ways at the end of this year. In recent interviews, Daniel Suarez says that he's known about this for quite a few months, and he went on to say that, quote, "It's just like everything in life. Things change, people change, the company changes, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There just wasn't a love anymore. There's no hard feelings at all." So Suarez, he's been with the team since 2021, will depart the team with a minimum of 2 wins. I say minimum because there's still the rest of the season to run. He could get another win, but unfortunate to hear that the love was kind of lost there. But Suarez moving on, he says his goal is to remain in the cup level, so we'll see what kind of comes of that. That said, though, that leaves the 99 seat open. Who is going to fill that seat? And it seems like a no-brainer that Connor Zilisch would be that driver who's currently locked into a multi-year deal with Junior Motorsports. We've seen contracts get bought out before and things like that, so I could see Connor Zilisch moving in to that 99 seat, which means who fills in his seat in Xfinity, and I'm sure there are plenty of drivers vying for that seat as well. But going back to Shane Van Gisbergen and all of this, considering his recent improvement, his success getting wins this season, I would say that it's a no-brainer for Trackhouse to sign him for another deal for 2026. But we've lost the plot. We've completely lost the plot. Let's get back to our results for the Grant Park 165. Starting off with our second place finisher of Ty Gibbs. Another great result for him at this track. We have Tyler Reddick in third, and for Tyler Reddick, he was about a second faster than the leader as the laps were winding down. Just didn't have enough time to get to that lead position overall, though. Solid day for Reddick. Fourth, Denny Hamlin, and this is wild because he didn't turn a lap, I don't think at all, in practice, because his engine blew as soon as he started rolling on track. Had to start to the tail end of the field, changing that engine out. Finished in fourth. So pretty good day for Denny Hamlin, all things considered. I know he was very frustrated, but not a bad way to end his time at Chicago this weekend. Fifth, Kyle Busch. Another rebound for Kyle Busch. He had multiple spins on the day. Pit road penalty. Nevertheless, Kyle Busch persisted. Sixth, AJ Allmendinger. We have seventh, Ryan Preece. Eighth, Alex Bowman. And Alex Bowman, there's a story here. Had a really tough, hard-fought race with Bubba Wallace towards the end of this. Now, Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman were fighting for that spot in the bracket challenge for the $1 million to move on to that next part. And I was like, where's Arby's? Because we have beef. These two drivers were dueling for that position, and ultimately it ended with Bubba Wallace getting spun by Bowman as they were battling things out. It was a fun battle to watch, though, not gonna lie. But unfortunately for Bubba Wallace, who was having a great day, he ended up finishing in that 28th position. Ninth, we have Austin Hill. And in 10th, Ross Chastain. Again, some more story to this result, as Ross Chastain and Logano actually had an on-track incident together that resulted in a post-race confrontation where Logano was very frustrated with how Chastain raced him. In this conversation, Joey Logano said, hey, Chastain admitted that he spun me, which means, quote, he should get fined if he wrecked me on purpose. So maybe take an eye on the penalty report this week. Keep an eye on it, see what comes of it. But clearly, Chastain not making any friends on track. But again, they were trading paint back and forth, and Chastain ended up just going and spinning Logano. But that's your top 10. And I was looking at this top 10, and I was looking at who I thought would finish in the top 10, who I thought would have better finishes than what were predicted, and who had worse. And I will say my grid rival picks for this weekend were not good. They were not good at all. I didn't account for clutch issues for Michael McDowell, who would have probably had a race-winning car. Do I think he would have won the race against SVG? No, but I think he would have finished probably in second, but didn't account for his clutch issues. I also did not account for a lap 4 wreck that involved multiple drivers, ending a few drivers' days, making things way more difficult on them than it should be. But if you want to place your bets with me for Sonoma, maybe we'll have better luck then. Make sure to click the link in my bio. And of course, click the link in the description below. Like I said though, an incident on lap 4. Carson Hocevar clipped the wall on the inside corner of turn 9, which shot him to the opposite side of the track, where he spun around, entering turn 10. Basically ping-ponged off the wall there, went in front of Austin Dillon, and it stacked a few drivers up at that point. Brad Keselowski, Will Brown, Daniel Suarez, Todd Gilliland, AJ Allmendinger again rallied from that to finish inside the top 10, but still, lots of drivers involved in this did not really have a chance to get the results that I thought they were capable of, especially for Carson Hocevar. Had a great qualifying effort, didn't get to see it play out. Now, this is a very tough spot on track for visibility, and I was trying to figure out how tough is it? Well, Alanis King, she was spotting this weekend for the Xfinity Series, actually posted a photo of this exact position on track, where you see that tree that's circled there, the tall green, big green tree right there. All the trees are green, but where you see that tree circled on track is right where Carson Hocevar ended up kind of spinning and stopping, and it is marked as a point of visibility where the sight line is blocked. So it's very hard for these spotters to say, hey, by the way, car spun on track, because you're not able to see it. So all these cars are going to get piled in, and it's an unfortunate end to the day. That's just the price of racing on a street course. I'm not saying that it's bad to race on a street course, but just saying visibility could be blocked due to certain things, making it very hard on the spotters. But yeah, lap 4 incident, not great. So on-track incidents and on-track battles definitely caused a rift with some drivers today and shook up the points just slightly, now above the cutoff line, +3, only +3. Bubba Wallace, -3. We have Ryan Preece. And plus/minus 30, 40 points is everyone else around them. But those two are going to be the battle you want to look out for, because they are the closest on points together around that cutoff line. Looking at the bracket challenge, as we talked about before, Alex Bowman won his bracket challenge against Bubba Wallace. He is moving on. Other drivers that are moving on after this event, John Hunter Nemechek knocking out Chase Elliott. That was another shock. Ty Dillon, he just keeps on moving forward. Ty Dillon, another shock for your bracket moving on, and he battled against Brad Keselowski. Of course, that lap 1 incident taking out Brad from contention today. You have Ryan Preece moving on, Tyler Reddick moving on, Eric Jones moving on, Ty Gibbs moving on, and Zane Smith. And I hate that I discounted Zane Smith in all this, and I'm kicking myself over it, but Zane Smith knocks out Chris Buescher, and at that point my bracket is completely busted, because I had Chris Buescher making it to the final round. I had Denny Hamlin winning. That's not happening anymore, not even close. So Zane Smith moving on. Again, my sincerest apologies to Department of Motorsports for writing him off. Besides points and the bracket challenge, there are 2 key things I want to talk about with you all, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. The first thing is caution controversy. We've talked about caution controversies before for varying different reasons, but this time it's because of how long NASCAR withheld throwing a caution. Typically, we've been pretty hard on them for throwing a caution way too soon. This time, NASCAR took their sweet old time waiting to see if these cars could get refired on track, but sometimes it was a bit too long for a lot of fans' liking today. 2 instances that come to mind to me are the caution with Josh Berry and then Cody Ware as the field was coming to 1 to go. For Josh Berry, in an incident near the middle of the race, he was driver's side facing in turn 7, I believe, for like a solid lap and a half to 2 laps before the caution was pulled. They were waiting for Josh Berry to get the car refired, just giving him a shot before they threw the caution, which I can respect. I just don't love that the driver's side was facing into turn 7 where oncoming traffic was coming from. just makes me nervous. As for Cody Ware, he went into the tire barriers very hard coming to the one to go, and NASCAR did not pull a caution until SVG had taken the white flag, and they waited a little bit after that as well. I think somebody had kind of 45, 50 seconds between that timing, which can feel like an eternity. But NASCAR had issued a statement to some media members that was shared on social media about the last caution, at least saying that, quote, the race director saw the car and the tire packs, obviously seeing the in-car. The hit was a big one. But when you see a car and the tire packs, there's no way to know the severity. They followed up by talking about how at road course races, they really try to hold off as long as possible before they throw the caution, giving these drivers an ample amount of opportunity to get their cars refired, just like they did with the 5 car at this track last year. But they said with this one, once the window net came down and the driver climbed out, they needed to throw the caution at that point. And I guess to NASCAR's credit, they are being consistent with this. The entire day, I don't think they threw a caution way too quick. I know that there was one caution that threw a lot of people off that was due to a medical emergency around the track. But with the cautions involving cars on track, I think they gave every driver a good amount of time to see if they could refire their car without disrupting the race. So I will say, consistency across the entire season, maybe not exactly, but consistency in this race, I will say yes. Hindsight, though, knowing how rough that crash was for Cody Ware, I wish they would have pulled the caution out immediately just for driver safety's sake. So maybe we'll hear more about this from NASCAR as the week goes on. I know on NASCAR's podcast, Holler Talk, they talk about decisions like this. So we'll see if anything more comes of that. But very curious indeed. I'm curious to know your thoughts about these caution calls. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the future of the Chicago street course because it's kind of uncertain right now. The rumor is that San Diego is looking to be a street course option for NASCAR in 2026. This would mark the return of NASCAR going to the Southern California market. Now, that hasn't been confirmed, but it is heavily rumored, and the rumor is that that race could replace the Chicago street course. And here's my thing. I think us being in the Chicago market is such a win. I think we need to stay there at some capacity, whether it is we clean up Chicagoland and return there. If that's a possibility, I don't know. I know there's rumblings around that, whether there's legitimacy to it or not. I don't think there's any real weight to it yet. But the other thing, too, is maybe just keep Chicago on the schedule and put the San Diego race on the schedule too. So we have 2 street courses. Now, do we want more street courses in NASCAR or not? That's another question. But I do think NASCAR leaving the Chicago market would be such a mistake. Finally, after the past few years, we've seen what NASCAR can do at the Chicago street course when there's no rain involved. The rain started falling as the race ended, a little while after the race ended. But the fans were able to come out to the race and have so much fun without weather in the area. We saw some great racing there. Was it the best racing we've seen all season? No. But we were finally able to see what the Chicago street course was capable of. And I just think it would be a huge miss if NASCAR did not come back at some capacity. But that's just one gal's opinion. That's just my opinion. So we'll see what the decision is. I always look to August for the next year's NASCAR schedule to come out. That seems to be the consistent trend every single year. But we also know as we inch closer to August, we're going to see kind of inklings of scheduling pieces of news come out. So when that's confirmed, if Chicago's coming back, if San Diego's coming into the schedule, whenever, if anything's confirmed, you can find it at ATYL Media on all social platforms. That said, though, let's go into our race rating above or below the yellow line. Like I said, good to see a race that was not involving rain at Chicago. It was a really good race to see that tires actually mattered more than in years past. I know it was very hot in the Windy City this year, so it presented different challenges for these drivers, just dealing with something that they didn't have in their notebooks, a dry racetrack, right? Overall, the road course package, or the street course package that NASCAR has, still needs some improvement. But I also think it's kind of conducive to the track that we have in the sense that you don't have large runoff areas where if you make a mistake, you can just turn around and keep going again. There is a tighter course with the street course, so you don't have maybe track limits that you can kind of fib or anything like that. So This course in itself is a challenge, and it is very different in that sense. It was really cool to kind of listen to the drivers' feedback this weekend on the track. Joey Logano had a really good breakdown before the race began about how this track acts and what makes it really difficult during NASCAR media availability time, I believe on Friday, or I think it was Saturday afternoon. But for this race, though, I'm going to give it a 60%. That doesn't mean it was bad by any means. I just wasn't totally locked into it. I think what really locked me in was the battle between Bowman and Wallace. Nevertheless, though, I think 60%, not terrible, above the yellow line for the Chicago Street Course. So what did you think of the Grant Park 165? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we're done with this episode of Above the Yellow Line. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure to go to AboveTheYellowLine.com to learn more about me and the incredible team here at ATYL Media, covering IndyCar, NASCAR, NHRA, Formula One, sim racing, and so much more. I'll catch you all in the next episode of Above the Yellow Line and in our next live show as well, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.